Hi, everybody. It's Karen Sullivan, and I am here, and I'm from lifehealthmore.net, which is my website that has all kinds of great training on it. And I am here today to talk about Fit and Fabulous is the topic for the whole month of July. But I really want to talk about making plans and kinds of plans. Now, what do? I work with people. I am an independent Shaklee distributor, and I help with nutritional needs that people have as they're training, whether they're with me or they're just coming to me for the products, for the Shaklee products that I have available and sell. But more importantly, it has to do with trying to blend everything that we need to make ourselves the best version of ourselves. Isn't that sort of redundant there? But I really want people to feel the best that they can possibly feel. In 2018, as the year turned and the new year came, I just felt really inspired that this year could be some time that I'm going to spend specifically trying to help people get the things in their lives that they want, whether they're trying to reach a goal of losing weight, whether they're trying to find inner peace in some way to relax better, whether they're working on interpersonal relationships, which ultimately all go back to helping ourselves. Now, I do a lot of health coaching. I have clients all over the country, and they call me, and they, once a week we go through a 30-minute session, and that's really super. But I also offer things through my business here in St. Peters, Missouri. So that's who I am. Now, last week, I talked about working with your why and your motivation. If you're trying to be fit and fabulous, the most important thing is to have good motivation. You're not going to stay on a program just because you want to lose weight, or you want to get fit, or you want to run a marathon. That's not enough. Your goal and the thing that you're going toward isn't going to happen unless you have a motivation, a why. So I talked in one of the shows last week, I think it was like last Monday, about how do you build a why? How do you do that? And then the next thing that we talked about was selecting goals that were realistic. Those are two super important things. Now we're building on it to build a plan. If you don't have a plan, then it's also not going to work, and you're going to fail before you get started. And we don't want any epic fails in 2018. We want people to stay on point. Do what you want to do because you want to do it, because it answers something deep in your heart. It has this calling out that's coming into your heart and your mind. People that go into advanced degrees, whether they're going to be doctors, whether they're going to go into nursing or whatever, the Peace Corps, they're doing it because their motivation is something that strikes a chord. I call it your heart's desire. Okay, so that's really important what we're talking about. Now, once you know that, and what I want to do these sorts of things for people to help everybody feel really their best. Life is hard enough. So you want to feel good. You want to feel good about yourself and help your self-esteem to come up from the basement, so to speak. So those things are really super important. So we've got our goals and we've got our motivation. Watch the shows from last week. You can also watch them on YouTube. But now we're going to talk about the plan. So there are lots of ways to build a plan. You can say, oh, I'm going to lose weight. And we're going to talk about losing weight basically because that's really what I do as a fitness coach. Most of the time, 90% of the time or more, people are looking to lose weight. So for right now, that's what we're going to talk about. If you were coaching with me, we would address your specific interests and issues and goals. Okay. So for today, for the sake of this entire month's discussion, fit and fabulous means that you want to get some weight off. Okay. So you can do your plan. Plans are like a roadmap. Okay. Now you could just say, okay, I am going to watch what I eat less, and exercise. Well, okay, great. You need to be a little bit more specific. You need to just determine what kind of exercise you can do. And that's all based on a lot of information about your body and your history. If you've hurt yourself, let's say you have bad knees from running previously, and so running is probably not the thing that you're going to choose this time. So maybe you would want to do water aerobics or water walking, for that matter, with the buoyancy of the water will help your knees. So those things are all need to be determined. Now, you're going to look at whatever you choose, the frequency that you do it. Okay. Frequency means how many days a week you're going to work on it. So there are 7 days in a week, and you don't want to do it for 7 days because you'll burn out and you'll end up with an injury. So let's start off realistically. Look at your calendar. Where do you want to go work out? How many days do you have available? And to be very honest, it's really best to start with fewer, because then again, you're not an epic fail. You're an epic, awesome person, right? You're doing it, and you're doing it right. So let's say 2 to 3 days a week, you're going to do it. Now, you don't necessarily have to say it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 out of 7. When you hit Friday, if you've only done one day, then you can do Saturday and Sunday, and you still have your 3 days, right? And then again, you're awesome, right? So frequency is important. Then the intensity, the kind of work that you're going to do. I know that a lot of people like that dynamic training. My body doesn't allow me to do that anymore. I sort of did all that stuff when I was younger, and I have the injuries to prove it. And that's on me. But you have to choose what kind of intensity. Are you going to run? And if you can run, then you want to start slowly. If you can't run, then you want to walk. So the intensity that you need to be realistic about. We talked about realistic goals on Thursday. Now we want to be realistic about the intensity that we want to do. When my class, I just taught a class that I did DT, which was something that I got the idea from my son. And so I took it to it, and it's, it was kind of intense, and it had deadlifts, and then it had, like a clean and jerk, and then what else was the third component of it? I bet everybody in my class could tell me, they remember, but it was very high intensity. And everybody did it to their best ability. Like there were shoulder presses, but the people whose necks and shoulders couldn't stand doing it as much did like an upright roll or a bicep curl. Bottom line, they were still moving. Okay, so the intensity, they were able to ratchet it down so it didn't hurt them. Great. Then the third thing that's so important is to get recovery. You have to recover from any exercise that you're doing. In order for your body to get better, it has to be pushed to the limits that you're able to handle, and then you have to give it a chance to rest. So it's a day after you've worked out to allow your body to rest and recover. Not that you're, oh, woe is me, I'm so exhausted. No, I'm talking about the muscle fibers. I'm talking about the strain on the tendons. I'm talking about the musculature, and then you get into your joints and everything, so that they need a little bit of a break. I know my husband has his hip, which somewhat worries me because his mother had 4 hip replacements in her life, and she had to have hip replacements very young because congenitally she was born that they describe them as shallow hip sockets. So you know how your hip is, like this, where it's comes around and it's good support, and the head of that humerus moves in there, right? Well, she didn't have complete, so that bone was slipping, and so she had to have surgery early on. Well, and the fact that his hip bothers him, we're very, very cautious about what he does. So when he'll go one day and he walks, he walks for probably 45 minutes to an hour, and he walks hard, and he works really fast. And so the next morning when he gets up, his hip will be sore. So I'm always like, okay, all right, this is a timeout day, or go ride a bike, ride the recumbent bike at the gym. So see, we have to have that sort of a thing. Okay, so those are the considerations that you want to take. Now, there are two different kinds of plans, and I always talk about, and I say this all the time in my classes, you got the tortoise and you got the hare. We're in a long distance race. Life is a long distance race, because I don't know about you, but I want to live a long time. And so to say that you want instantaneous results is kind of, well, I'll say the word foolish, because life is long. We're going to be here for a while. So we want to make sure that we are at our best and that we learn everything. So if you have two ways of doing it, fast and slow, you want immediate results. Let's say in a month that you're going on a vacation, and you want to have, I'm going to be unrealistic here. You want to have 20 pounds off in a month. Well, you might get 20 pounds off in a month, but a couple of things that you've done is you haven't learned anything. You haven't learned anything about your body, because in order to do 20 pounds, you've probably restricted your calories so much. You've been like just across the board, cut it out, and you're eating like a rabbit. You're eating only vegetables, and the body will lose and drop weight, especially if you add some kind of cardio and running or biking or something to it. But you get the 20 pounds off if you get even close to it. But what happens when you start eating? That story, guys. The set point for your basal metabolic rate comes down, and when you start to eat again, you gain weight. What's worse than that is that then your body and your metabolism have been messed with. And so those set points and everything change. So it's not good. Not only that, then between your ears, what happens when you gain weight back, or when the weight comes back because your metabolism is lower? You feel like you're a failure again. And so it's destroying your self-esteem. You're not a failure. You just sort of set yourself up to have this issue of, okay, the weight came off, but it's not a permanent off. So we want to make them permanent offs. You think about wrestlers, and they're wrestling in a body weight that's probably below what they should be in, and it's because their coach needs them to do in that weight class. And so they have to cut weight. They practice, they're beefy, they feel good, they have all the strength and energy, and then before they're going to go, they do drastic, insane things with not eating, not drinking, taking diuretics, sitting in a hot tub or in a sauna. Okay, that stuff happens. The stress on the heart and the body, bad. Really, really not good. And so we don't want to get there. They'll get the weight off. They'll go and be able to, a little shot of adrenaline and maybe some caffeine, they'll be able to do the wrestling. But that's not life. That's not what we want to do. That's not the way that we should do life. Okay. So when you think about it, you want to do a plan that allows for time, allows for the body to work in the way it's meant to be working, and allow you to learn about the foods that you can and cannot eat. I always refer to this because it's important for you to recognize that I know that I can't eat grain. And again, it's not gluten, it's the grain, it's wheat that I'm allergic to. And when I have that, I get sick. Now, do I gain weight from it? I don't know, but it makes me sick. And I can't imagine that any food that would make me sick would not be good. I mean, when you have poison, poison's not good for you. So I just always assume that it can't be doing my body any good because my gastrointestinal system just can't handle it. Anyway, the pitfalls that come and how you backslide is something that I'm going to talk about on Thursday, and what sorts of things can can rear their ugly heads and how we are going to adjust them. Go as long as you can. Go for lasting, wonderful, wonderful long-term results. Okay. So I hope that you will join me in trying to become the very best version of yourself. I am doing a webinar on Thursday night, and it's at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can get there and register. You have to register. There are tickets. They're free, but you have to register on Life Health More on Facebook. And it's my page, not my timeline. So check that out, and please register and watch and learn about it. And we'll be talking about how beneficial soy is, especially in weight loss. So join me then on Thursday, and I hope to see you then. Thanks. Take care.